Welcome to the 6th episode of the X's podcast. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about tonight, Ikea.
Oh, yeah. Good evening, everybody.
All right, let's get into it. All right, first up, mom on mom crime. So, moms bullying moms. Let's check it out.
So when you choose to go against the grain, especially as a mom, I already know what I'm finna get when I say that motherhood is hard. One of my content creator friends said that she regrets that, like, certain aspects of motherhood, like the anxiety that she always feels like something's gonna happen to her kid. She needs to be around her kid 100% of the time. Which people were like, oh, well, how's your daughter gonna feel? You know, you must hate your daughter. It's mostly women that want you to shut up about how hard it is, because if you continue this narrative of it's hard, it's not easy, this does require a lot of effort and strength on a person, right, to be a parent, then they can't go along with the whole, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
It's holding the mirror up to them.
Yeah.
My truth is going to disrupt your lie.
Your lie. Yeah.
All right, are mothers too hard on other mothers about motherhood? Ikea?
I would say probably 50-50. Yeah. I do think that sometimes some mothers look at it as every aspect of being a parent is just so peaches and cream. And like I said, especially if you're a new mom, you see that a lot of times people with who's a new mom, they have struggles with it because there's not a book that's going to teach you how to be a good parent. That is like a learn as you go process, right? And then the more kids you have, you get better and better. It's kind of like, I would say, relate motherhood to, what is it, the Love's commercial, where you know how it would show you, like, with the first kid you were completely clueless, you went over the top, and then when you get that second and third kid, it's like, I'm not finna do that anymore.
You start
So
to
yeah,
learn.
I think sometimes they do. Yeah, and I think that sometimes, yeah, because I think there's nothing wrong with the mother saying, I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. This isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. I think that those mothers, instead of judging them, they should be like a support system, because you guys have that one thing in common. Like, we're all mothers here. None of us are perfect.
Yep. So before I get into my opinion here, I just want to tell the people that are watching, please comment if you have an opinion on this. We want your feedback. We want to include you in the show. So please engage us and join the conversation. Okay. So motherhood is hard. Absolutely. Parenthood is hard. Period. Right? It just is. Children are, it's not always glitz and glamour. It's not always fun times. Parenthood is difficult. For every great thing that you have in life, there is sacrifice. To get your child's first smile, to get to them walking around, all of the joys of them saying their first words, all the things that we enjoy as parents, watching them become who they are, all of those things require a great amount of sacrifice. Right. They just do, and I do think that women are particularly hard on other women when it comes to motherhood. I made this point a while back, if you remember, when I was talking about single parenthood dating and putting time constraints on when it's appropriate to introduce the children to the person that you're dating, right? And when you put like a number out there, and again, draw a line in the sand for this kind of thing, you're giving other women the ammunition that they need to judge other mothers for that, right? And they often already do that when it comes to dating, because they look at one mother and they're like, wow, they just started talking to that guy and they're already introducing their kids to them. But how much information are they missing in that equation? Right. They may have just found out that this person was talking to this person, and they could have been talking to him for 6 months for all you know and not know about it. And so I just think that too often we get wrapped up into these numbers in our head that we create. Like, I think you said 6 months or something, right? And I just think that gives people ammunition to hate on each other. I don't like it.
Well, with that part there, the whole meeting, but now I can agree with everything else you said, but I think the meeting part, because that's very important for you, your kids, and then the other person too, like that's interested in you. So yeah, but now everything else, yeah, I can agree with. Like, it's just like a you want to nitpick. I mean, you'd be surprised. There are people who probably judge mothers based on how they change their child's diaper. Like, are you putting them in that? What is that thing called? That they're
Yeah.
the changing station versus are you
Uh-huh.
changing them just like on a countertop or whatever? Like, you have people who literally nitpick, and it's like, can they just be a mom to their own kid
Yeah.
that works for them? It's not going to be appeasing for you.
It's funny, as a single dad, especially when the kids were younger, when they were younger, you were talking about the support system thing. There already is kind of that, to be honest with you. Like, every area sort of has a group of single moms that all kind of kick it and hang out, and they're like a little support group. And as a single dad of two young children, when they were like in diapers and toddlers and stuff, when I would go to the grocery store, to Walmart, I was like an honorary member of their club,
Mhm.
because I would always people would always come up to me and they would ask me, "Well, how's the baby doing?" And then they would do the knee slapping and just, just all the things that I think single mothers usually do with one another. I got to be sort of honorary member of that little clique or group. But I think I got a pass on a lot of stuff. I don't think that they judged me for being, not being a good enough whatever here or there, because I am a guy and it's not
Mhm.
our traditional role to raise kids that are that young. So interesting. Mom on mom crime is a real thing. Unbelievable. All right, we'll go to the next one. What we got? Advice for lonely dudes.
I owe you absolutely nothing
Of
as a man
course.
who doesn't know you. Simp culture within the Western world has become a norm.
Yeah.
So men will say, okay, cool. And this is why I speak to men. Men, I'm going to speak to you, right? Because if you are out here with a lot of money, stop giving pretty women attention. Because what happens is you will lose your resources, you will lose your money, you will lose your time. And what will happen is they will take your time, effort, resources, all the things that you built up, and they'll be on to the next.
Advice for lonely men who have a little bit of dough. You got anything?
Well, the thing is, where he said, for as far as pretty women go, and it's kind of like what we had a conversation about last night, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. And I think even if they may not be classified to the world as beautiful, they got to
There
have a
are
look to
social
you.
norms. There are social
Yeah,
norms.
but I can agree that, yeah, if you're flaunting your wealth, that's what you're going to attract, is people who want to attach themselves to your wealth. So
Yeah.
as a man who says that they're not trying to attract the gold digger type women, well, then you got to stop attracting them with your
Right.
wealth, attract
With
them
your
with
money.
yourself. So
Yeah.
that's the best advice I can give you, is don't lead with your wealth, lead with your personality, lead with the type of person you are, leave your wealth at home for a change and see how they treat you. And
Yeah.
then you can discover, okay, are you with me for me? Are you interested in me for me? Or is it for what I can do for you? That's
Yeah.
like, honestly, the only advice I can give
I
to
mean, I
lonely
gotta
men
tell
with
you that
money.
the stereotypes are kind of true though, because I used to drive around in a sports car, um, and somehow I found this exotic sports car for next to nothing. I mean, it was one of those deals where this make and model was sort of notorious among mechanics for having a lot of issues, and I
Hmm.
just happened to find one that was still running. It was still operating and running. Um, and so I got it for dirt cheap, but it was just a really sexy car, like very exotic. If you seen someone driving down the road with it, you would think, man, they got money, you know? And boy, that thing did turn eyes, and it did create the perception that I had money. And in return, I received a lot more interest from women because it appeared like I had money, you know. As far as advice, I would just say, to your point, everybody has what I call their superpower. You know, if you got a lot of money, somehow you got that money, somehow you have some sort of talent that you've used to be profitable. So there's some sort of talent in you that you're not really showing people. If you're leading with your money and not leading with the talent that got you that money, then you're attracting the wrong kind of woman. I would just say, first and foremost, double down on that talent that you have, you know, and really craft it and hone it, and then try to think of places where women might be that would appreciate that talent. Where are they going to be at? You know, whatever
Not at
that
the bar,
it is.
not at the clubs. I can tell you that,
Yeah.
because there's a certain type of people that are in certain types of places. It's kind of like at church, right? Like we know church is where sinners go, but everyone's a sinner. But and even that there has turned into like a cliche type of stereotype, because we know for certain today to say if you look for a good woman, go to church. That's
Oh,
not always the
come on.
case.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, but back then that was kind of like the advice they give, like, hey, go over there. But no, it's where you're going and searching. So if you're looking for someone who's not interested in your wealth, then you don't go to the places where people potentially are vibrating on the same frequency, which tends to be low, which is like the bars, the clubs, the parties, things like that. Go to like upper scale places like the cigar shops. Yeah, like they have places like that here in Jackson. You get a different type of energy, and then you go to those places where people with your kind of
Network.
wealth have, because then you can probably weed out, you know, because there's going to be more people who are on your level financially than there are who is not, that are in those places.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to go where.
The other part of this is we're talking about men here. Men, you know, they think with their eyes. Okay. They just do. So we can give them all this kind of fluffy advice about be in the right places and so on and so forth. But the reality is most of those places don't have the kind of girls aesthetically that they're kind of looking for.
But then that
So,
falls in that category then, that what he's talking about is if you're looking for a particular look, that particular look comes with a particular type of agenda, which tends to be those women who are seeking the wealth of men. So it's kind of like they do it to themselves, like you know better, but you're just
can I throw a curveball out there though? Okay. So it's my opinion that if you have to lead with your wealth, then aesthetically you're not putting out what these type of women want aesthetically, because if you look the right way, we all know if you look the right way, you can live in your mama's basement and the chicks will still dig you. You just have to have the right aesthetic for them, right? So if I'm giving a guy advice that maybe has some money but doesn't want to attract women with their money, but they're looking for a certain type of aesthetic, I'm going to tell them to start working out, bro. Get off the couch and start working out, because again, women, they look with their eyes too, right? They're not all like IKEA. They're not all searching for a soulmate, right? Some of them are just looking for flesh. And if you don't have the flesh and you're just attracting them with money and you want to stop, there is some things that you can do, right? You can go pick up a gym membership. I've been working out lately, don't even have a gym membership. It's better time management. It's just figuring out time management, right? So interesting stuff though. Double down on your superpower, I say. But to the clip's credit, don't give out your money. Right? I mean, I just feel like here's the thing. The whole simp thing is real. I feel like if you got to attract a woman by throwing money around, you're a chump. And you're a fool. And you're a trick. To the women, right? They think you're a joke. Because you're just so willing to throw your money out there. It's just like, if you work hard for something like your money, you shouldn't just haphazardly just give it away to women, right? Like, they should have to earn their place. They should have to earn their place in life. And it's just like, don't do that. You're making yourself look weak-minded.
Yeah, but that would be to other men that are focused on other people and not themselves. Because I actually saw last night when I got off the stream, I seen where they were talking about James Harden had actually sent Sweetie $100,000 for a date. Now, did he end up going on that date? I don't know, because I know they're not together. But it was people like literally were saying, like, if you have to, I'll send the money. But then it was one guy in the comments that had commented on there and said, not the passport bros, sitting up here mad at James Harden because he can afford a trick without catching flights. And it made sense because it was like, he got to like, listen, this guy, if he wants to spend $100,000 of his own money, that's not coming from anyone else, then why does that necessarily have to make him a simp? Apparently, he didn't see a problem with sending her $100,000. So why should we be more upset than he is?
I mean, I just think that from my point of view, I've never had to use money to attract women. And I feel like I don't know. It just doesn't strike me as a very manly thing to do. Like it's just.
But if you think about it, in all aspects of life, men spend money just like women do. You literally do. This entire world is transactional. So whether you're in a relationship or not, you're going to spend money.
It just feels so fake, right? It's kind of like, you know, we've had to talk about, do you take a girl out to the club or out for coffee on the first date? And I'm very much a coffee guy. I will not go out to a bar or to a club for basically any date, really. I want to get to know you as a person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to get to know you as a person, I got to get to know your mind sober. And I just feel like money in that way is sort of like alcohol, right? When you give a woman alcohol, she loses her inhibitions. She becomes more free with herself. If it takes that for you to get with a woman, it's just weak, bro. It's just weak.
Because he's probably not looking for a sit. Most of the time when that's happening, though, is what people have to understand is they're not doing it to secure a woman as long term. It's to have fun. It's called pay to play. That's what they're doing. So if you want to be taken serious, then that's why I was saying you don't go where people are not looking to take anybody serious. It's I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Whatever's gonna happen is what's gonna happen, and I'm going on, like, and I'm leaving you where you're at. Like that's where you would go, like the places like that, the clubs and stuff like that. Who's taking anyone serious that they're meeting in a club? Nobody. Because 9 times out of 10, the crowd, the setting wasn't right. So that's why I said go where people who have similarities to what you have, even your financial status, go there, because then you don't have to worry about, like, when have you ever seen rich people in the same room trying to outdo the next rich person to impress the women? They already know they have the wealth. So it's like, we're not in competition with that, regardless if I may have a little more than you do. It's more so they're leading in other ways. And that's why I said people have to learn to read the room and pay attention to the energy that's going around. So if you're looking for someone to be taken serious, you got to go to places where people literally take things serious with that.
I agree with that. And that was a part of some of my notes, right? It's like, it goes back to the superpower thing. Like you have superpowers. If you're like a math whiz or something and you made a bunch of money because, you know, you're really good at math, then you need to go find chicks that are into math because they're going to be impressed by your ability to do formulas or whatever, right? But yeah, I just think as a way to attract women, I'm not a fan of throwing money around like that. And the other thing that I would say is just like I struggled a lot of years. I struggled hard, and there were women that wouldn't bat an eye at me when I was struggling. Right? They may have been physically sort of interested in me, but as far as like really considering me, they just wouldn't touch me because they knew I was broke. They knew I had kids. They weren't interested. Well, now that I've reached a place in my life where I'm at least financially secure, right? I'm not running around here loaded or anything, but I have had some of these girls come back around and now all of a sudden they're interested. Right? And it's like, well, where were you when I was the pizza guy? And that's how I had going for myself, was being the pizza guy. Right? Like, you weren't willing to come in and make the sacrifices to help me generate the wealth, even though you could clearly see I was on the path. I mean, you'd have had to been blind back then to look at me and not know that I was motivated and I was going somewhere. Right? So it just bugs me, one, when women are able to successfully, right, scheme their way out of guys' hard-earned money. But two, it bugs me when guys are foolish enough to give it out. It's like, it irks me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what I said. It's like, and the only way you can do it is you have to literally stay away from the places where they're at, because most guys that do that, they're looking to play too. That's why you never hear, quote unquote, wealthy men complaining about gold diggers, because they already have that understanding. Why are they going to complain about what they already understand? It's not, there's no need to do. The only people that complain is people that can't afford to play. They complain about it. And that's why I said that's when you got to take a look at yourself, take a step back and say, why am I counting another man's pockets? It's not affecting my life, what he's doing with his wealth. If he goes broke tomorrow, that's his problem. And I ain't got to take care of him, you know? So that's why I was just like, yeah, I mean, if they were with James Harden, he thought it was okay. He wanted to spend $100,000, whether he got the date or he didn't. He obviously he wasn't going to miss that money, because they tell you don't spend what you're going to miss or potentially need.
So superficial though, and if we're really, really going to get down to the, if we're really going to talk about advice, like real good, solid advice, I think that you have to get away from short-term flings and try to find someone that you can connect with on a spiritual level, right? Like, that's what you should be doing. And if you're sort of a surface level kind of guy, kind of a bimbo type of dude, whatever, that's one thing. But if you're spending your money for the attention of women and you really want a long-term relationship, but you just don't know how to get it. I think it goes back to that getting around people that have similar mindsets that are going to appreciate you for who you are. And I think that short-term relationships can never trump the true value of a long-term, committed, loving relationship where you are spiritually connected. Right. And one night flings are never going to mean the same sort of thing as having someone that's your partner, that you're fighting the world with, that has your back and has a set of goals, and it's you against the world, right? It's you as a unit against the rest of the world. That's what we should be aiming for. That's what we should be trying to accomplish. So if you got money, that's what you're aiming for. Don't use your money to find it, because spirituality has nothing to do with money.
Absolutely, because money is not real anyway. So it's paper, or however you want to classify it as. But yeah, it's paper. So
all right, moving on. Next topic: deadbeat dads.
We're going to talk about the deadbeat baby daddies that come from single mothers. The men who come from single mothers and they lean on this crutch of, well, my mother did it. My mother was able to do it alone. Or they'll constantly put you in competition with their mother. What I can't understand is how, as a child, you can grow up in an environment of financial and emotional struggle and want to inflict that upon the woman you decide to have children with. Why do you guys want to work these women down like they're horses because your mother survived it? Yes, it's possible. But why is that the family dynamic that you want to continue?
deadbeat dads coming from single homes. So do you think that I'm just curious. I probably don't have as much insight or perspective as you on this because you're a single woman, right? Looking out into the world to find somebody. Do you think that single dads generally come from, or I'm sorry, deadbeat dads? Do you think deadbeat dads generally come from single parent homes? Like, is that a trend or?
I wouldn't call it a trend because a trend is something everybody wants to jump on. For majority wants to jump on, so I wouldn't call it a trend, but it's definitely a problematic situation across the nation. But I do agree with what she said is, if you watched your mother go through it, why would you want the mother of your children to go through it? That should be, because I've always looked at it like this. If you came from a single parent home, regardless of who was the one that raised you, and you came from struggle, that should be your motivation to be better because you already understand what you endured. So why want someone else that you make a child with have to go through those same things? Like, if you grow up without that other parent, why do you want your child to grow up without that other parent? You know how it felt. But I think most people are just selfish because you've seen too many stories where people had similar situations as you did, and they did not let that hinder them from growing. Instead, they used it as a footstool to further themselves. So people can sit up there and say, well, it's because you have all these single mothers, why you got all these trashy men out here. Poor excuse. And it's like, we're not buying that anymore. You choose to be who you want to be. You're in control of that, not your environment, not the people you surround yourself by. You, at the end of the day, have a responsibility for what and how you turn out once you jump off the porch. And what I mean by that is, I'm saying when you leave the nest, you go out into the world, you're responsible for your decisions when you get to a certain age. So to me, I think it's the thing is they never wanted a child to begin with, and hence how they got the term deadbeat mom, deadbeat dad. They never wanted the parent of the child to begin with. Most of the time in those situations, you will hear those men, they will blatantly say, if I don't care about the mother, why would I care about the child? They blatantly tell people this, so that's why it's like, it's on you. It's not about if she wants you around or not, because like I said, they don't have to be with you for you to still be a parent. You still have a responsibility. And if you choose not to, that's just your choice. You want to be a piece of crap.
Yeah. So, my insight as far as the struggle of single parenthood, she said something that rang really true for me. And, why would you want to put somebody through that emotional and financial stress?
Exactly.
And it's so simple, right? The way that she explained it, the words that she used, it's so simple, but so freaking accurate. Emotional, financial stress. That is single parenthood in a nutshell. Emotional and financial stress. And I'll just add, not only do you have emotional and financial stress, but you're alone with it. You're carrying that burden and that rock on your shoulders every single day that you wake up, right? And a lot of single parents have to feel like a burden to the people around them. That's the other thing. If you don't have a co-parent that's active helping you, then that means in order to make progress in your life, you're going to have to go to other people, not the co-parent, and have them help you so that you can progress in life. But then you're throwing a burden onto their lap, right? And then you feel like a burden for having to throw that burden onto their lap. And then when it becomes a financial struggle, it's often these same people that you're going back to and saying, it's Christmas time and I don't have any money, or I don't have rent, or, my car just broke down and in order to get it fixed, it's going to cost $900, right? And to have to continuously go to other people with these burdens, right, and not be able to take care of them yourself, that is, I can't explain.
It's not a good feeling.
How emotionally stressful that is, right? And that's single parenthood. And for me, that's what drove me so daggone hard to succeed, because I didn't want to live that way for 18 years. I knew that if I wanted to change that emotional, financial stress, that all of those burdens that you carry around with, that I was going to have to swing for the fence, right? That I couldn't just middle around in these sort of, kind of good, whatever type jobs. I was going to have to really find a career, because you have to also think that, like, in 2-parent homes, you have the benefit of 2 incomes. And if I just wanted the regular, run-of-the-mill quality of life of a 2-parent home for my children, that means that my job has to earn as much as a 2-parent home typically would in the area that I live. I knew, and that's what I mean by home run. You have to hit a home run. And then in order to really make that kind of money, right, to really earn like a 2-family type of, or 2 adult type of income, most jobs, you're going to be working overtime. Now, how does that work as a single parent? Overtime. Can you do that? No, you can't do that, because you're already putting a huge burden on other people just to try and achieve whatever you're trying to achieve. So I completely agree that if a guy knocks a girl up and their approach or thought process or whatever to it is just like, well, my mom was able to get through single parenthood, so you should be able to too, right? That's bogus. That is so bogus. That is such a cop-out. And, you're a sad human being if that's your approach. You are a sad person.
Because 9 times out of 10, they didn't want the child to begin with. They just got stuck with it. So they dipped out. Said, I ain't going to do it.
It makes a very good point that plays into what we said last week. I swear I see more or just as many deadbeat mothers these days. It's true. The statistics that I brought up in our last episode, the decline of American motherhood is a real phenomena, right? You're talking about single fatherhood has quadrupled since the late 60s, quadrupled. And, single fatherhood just pretty much means that the children are with the father, not the mother. So in that situation, 9 times out of 10, it's a case of the mother abandoning or exiting the scene. That's what it is. That's what single fatherhood is. The same thing as single motherhood. When you say single motherhood, most people equate that to the father leaving the scene, right? So that's an issue too, but it's a breakdown of the family unit across the board. Single motherhood has, and this would be guys exiting the scene, has doubled in the same time frame. So while single fatherhood is going up, so is single motherhood, which was already, single parenthood was already majority women, right? It was already like most of single parents were single mothers, not single fathers. And there's just, what it amounts to is there's just more single parents nowadays. Way, way, way more single parents. So that's why they're both doubling, and one's quadrupling and one's doubling, but women still represent the overwhelming amount of single parents. And that's due to the fact that, guys are having children with women that they don't want long-term relationships with. And they're not being thoughtful about the whole situation when it happens, right?
Yep, and that's pretty much what happens. And that's why I just said I don't believe people should procreate until they know that's absolutely what they want to do. Not because it sounds good, not because that's what we, quote unquote, I guess we want to get biblical, that that's what we're supposed to do, multiply and be fruitful. It has to make sense, because this is what that kind of equates to, right? If we're just doing it because biblically that's what we're supposed to do, but we're not making sure that we're financially secure enough to handle a situation, you end up in places like this where it becomes even harder. And I'm just a firm believer that you gotta not always want to go through something to learn from it, but learn from other people that you see. And I learned from being a child, experiencing growing up in a single, that I absolutely am not trying to, I'm breaking the curse. I'm not keeping it alive. So, and that's what just people have to do. And then even with, some people not thinking a certain way, well, again, the way you think and the way you carry yourself in this world is completely up to you. If you want to be stagnant with how you think, thinking long term, you're just only thinking for the now, that becomes your responsibility. Like, I cannot sit up and have sympathy for someone who doesn't want to use their brain. Like, I get we don't use 100% of it. I wish we could. We can't. So for the percentage you have, like, it's up to you to expand your thinking. It's up to you to make those choices. But we cannot hinder ourselves by just saying, well, I don't know. You have smartphones. Like, we are blessed in a way with smartphones that will give you access to resources such as the internet. Research the know-how. If you don't know how to, like, Google how to. DuckDuckGo is another useful search engine, but
that's old school. But back to the sort of clip there, she was picking on deadbeat dads that come from single parent homes, essentially saying, well, of all people, they ought to know better. And that's true. They ought to know better. But as a sort of just as a general premise of, what produces deadbeat dads, I don't know that single parenthood produces deadbeat dads at a higher rate than just crappy dads. They're both pretty high up there, I bet, because I mean, when you think about it, if you have a crappy dad, that's you're probably gonna follow suit. That's your example, and you don't know any
because men are the leaders in the community. So what you see your father do, you're gonna learn from that, right? And if he's not there, then you kind of make your own rules as you go. Like, that's the thing about it, from people who didn't have that other parent. You kind of have to make your own rules to survival until you learn different, right? But if you make a kid, you're responsible for. I mean, there's really just no way to get out of it, regardless of how much you may not like the person that you chose to make a child with.
You gotta do.
Yeah, you just have to.
Right. And I think that, my situation is probably a really good example of that. If I'm being 100% honest, when I got with my children's mother, did I think that I was going to have children with her, and, that this would be something that I would be forever connected and intertwined with her on? No. I was in my mid-20s and I was dating. I found someone that liked the same football team as me, and we got along really well, but I didn't have any, like, long-term ideas of what I wanted from life or from her or any of those things. We had children, and that's where you're going to find out if you're a chump or a man, right? When they call you and they say, I'm pregnant, your reaction to that is going to determine whether you're a chump or a man. And you're either gonna get out of Dodge as quickly as you can and pretend like they never even said it had to happen and just run like a coward, or you're gonna man up and you're gonna try to do the best you can to make the best out of the situation that you have found yourself in based on your own decisions. Right?
Pull this comment up here. I want to read.
Got another one? All right.
Yeah, Shannon Belmont. She said, if there's it's their fault for cheating, but some cases some are in an abusive relationship and they are trying to leave the abuser. So it's a very touchy subject for me. I cheated because I was being abused physically
Okay,
for 8
we're
years
on
and
to
I
the next.
wanted out. So I started to talk to someone else, but turns out the guy now that I was with is a narcissist and I just broke it off with him. Not seeing anyone else. I do not want another one in my life no more. I want to focus on me and only me.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's actually our next segment.
oh, okay, because I
Yeah.
was like,
She read the description. So, yeah, Shannon, we're gonna bring your comment back up. We'll go ahead and pull up our next video, and we'll go through your comment again. And
Deidre had responded to this one that we're on. She said, men coddled by parents often turn into deadbeat fathers. If their parents do everything for them and bail them out of everything, then that man doesn't have the stamina for parenthood. Parenthood is a lot of work. That's when you see men expecting the mothers or the grandparents to do all the work. Same is true for coddled women. You're absolutely correct on this, because actually what it is about those quote unquote deadbeat fathers are just crappy men, right? When they're seeking out women, they're seeking a replica of what their mother did. Their mother saw no wrong. Their mother was always there to rescue them, to get them out of whatever, to do everything for them, including their laundry, still cooking their meals. So when they go out into the world and they want to find a potential mate, they're looking for her and with the expectation of her to do what their mother did. And they tend to throw that in your face. So, well, my mom does it. Well, guess what? Your mom's the reason why you have this problem right now, too. And so even if you went to the mother, like some people, they'll go and talk to the mom about their son. Oh, she don't want to hear it. Her baby can't do no wrong. Don't talk about her son. And that's the problem right there. Is sometimes you have to meet the mother. See how she treats her son. Does she treat him like he's a man or like he is just her son?
Right. No, you're absolutely right. Spoiled kids, period, end up bad adults, right? That's, I mean, all around. All right, let's go ahead and pull up our next clip here, get into it, and rock and roll.
You know, when my ex and I split up, I was off at the dude she cheated with and not at her. I was hurt by her, but I was mad at him. And just recently I realized that was a lot of misplaced anger. That dude did not owe me any loyalty whatsoever. She did. That dude wasn't with me for 5 years. She was. That dude didn't live in this house with me. She did. That dude wasn't part of my family, wasn't part of my son's life. She was. I misplaced a lot of anger towards him because I thought he knew she was in a relationship and he did it anyway. But then I got to thinking of all the lies she told me about all of her exes and the heinous they allegedly did, and realized she's just continuing the cycle and he's the next victim.
Who's to blame when we cheat? And are we normalizing narcissism? All right, hold on. We got a call. All right. All right. Let's accept this. Do I got you? Zane, you on there, bud? Why isn't it? Hold on. I'm going to try and call this number back real quick. Okay. Zane's the guy that made the video. So I don't know why I wasn't able to. Ikea, can you hear that?
Can I hear him talking?
Yeah, can you hear? What's up, buddy? All right. So you can't hear Zane?
I don't think so. Have him.
That sucks. So I guess we're just gonna have to roll with it, with me talking to him if you can't hear him.
Okay.
All right. So I can hear you live. Hopefully the audience can hear you. This is the first call that we've got, but okay. So we're talking about who's to blame and cheating here. And you made this video, basically outlining some, I think, growth in yourself, right? At first you were like, I'm ready to kick this guy's behind, whatever. And then you kind of reflected and you're like, nah, she's really to blame here, not him. So you want to tell me how you got there? Mm. No, you're dead on it. So, unfortunately, the I don't think the audience I don't think our chat is getting through to the audience. So technically, I'm off somewhere. I appreciate you calling, but yeah, we're basically you and I are able to go through, but for some reason, it's not pushing through to the audience. So I'm gonna have to. Well, well, what I'm gonna do, and this is up to you, Zane. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send you a link and click it and type your name in, and you can join. You can join the talk that way, guarantee. Up to you if you want to give it a shot. I'll send you the link right now, though, on Facebook. All right. Yeah, it's just a real easy video chat. You just type your name in and click enter studio, and you'll be right in.
You can
Simple.
turn your cam off too if you don't want to be on camera.
All right, you got it. Yep.
Okay. He couldn't hear me. I'm thinking he can hear me like I can't hear him. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, you gotta. I thought that we had that worked out where you could hear.
I could hear it when we tested it out, like because I could hear you could hear me and I could hear you when I called it. So I don't know. It
That's
may
all right.
have,
We'll get them in here. So,
well, while we're waiting, I guess we can
pull up that other comment. Yeah.
yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
because
So, all right, Shannon. Okay, so the rundown here, I think, is she's saying, okay, so she was in an 8-year relationship, right? And it was an abusive one. And so she started talking to someone else, cheated, got out of the abusive relationship, only to find out that the guy that she was talking to was a narcissist. And she says at the end, she's focusing on her and her only. So Shannon, I'm just gonna shoot at the hip here, and I'm just gonna say that sounds like the best thing that you can do. Under the circumstances that you have playing out there, that's the best possible solution that you got. I'm not a real big believer in justifying cheating, even if there's abuse. I feel like you got to figure out a way to get out. But given the circumstances, it sounds like you jump from one abusive relationship to another abusive relationship. And I'm like, I'm thinking that, yeah, we need to reevaluate the guys that maybe you're attracting. The only way you can really do that, I think, is to focus on yourself. All right. So we got Zane in here. There he is. What's up, bro?
Hi.
How we doing?
All right.
Good.
Cool deal. So, all right. So, like I was saying,
Here's my dog's barking. Sorry.
you find out old lady's cheating, you're ready to rip dude's head off, right?
Yeah, more or less.
More or less. And were you giving her a pass completely?
Oh yeah,
You blamed it all on him, bro?
well, I listened to the lies. That was my problem. That was my fault.
Okay, I get it.
But I'm not going to bash her. We're adults. We're allowed to make our own choices, our own mistakes. That's fine. I don't agree that cheating is ever the answer. I saw somebody commented that,
I agree with you.
Yep. I don't really want to throw a profession out there too much, but I kind of deal with that all the time at work. There are professionals you can call to help deal with that. And it's taxpayer funded. You pay for it anyway, might as well use it.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, I worked a little in family law, which deals in divorce. And a lot of times my job was to take the phone call from the woman that was trying to get out, right? And most of the time they were trying to do that in the correct ways. They weren't cheating. But we had to be very careful about that process. Often they don't have money to pay for, if it's a marriage, they don't have money to pay for a divorce, right? In order to pay for the divorce, they have shared bank accounts. So it's sort of like, it's kind of weird, but we had to walk them through sort of like, okay, once you hit the bank account, you have to realize that this is game on, because you cannot hide a transaction that's going to pay for a retainer, right? So it's game on. You cannot go back to this guy, and that's often the hard part. They run back, and then that just puts themselves in more danger. So, but it sounds like you got to the right place. How'd you get there?
Crazy as it may sound, I literally disconnected with everything. I put my phone down. I packed up my old Army rucksack and sleeping bag, and I went and slept in the middle of the woods in January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just reflected.
Going out there and surviving on your own. Because, I put everybody ahead of myself for far too long. It's pretty much been my entire life. And I always cared more about the needs of other people than I did myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I literally took a primitive hunting bow, a recurve bow, old school, and packed up and went out in the woods. I didn't kill a dang thing. I didn't kill a deer. Nope. I had some MREs and some freeze-dried camping meals from our Bigfoot hunts we go on every summer, but
you just made it work out there.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask you, your caption, which I couldn't fit your caption that you wrote on the video in the way that I shared the clip.
Yeah.
But you said, "Are we normalizing narcissism?" And I took that and just tell me if I got this right. I took that to mean when we give people passes, like you're saying, you just gave her a complete pass and you just believed her lies. That's the normalizing of narcissism. I'm guessing I got that right, or how did you tie narcissism into this?
If you were to reread everything, like the history of from the time I found out the cheating until current, it is textbook. There was the initial begging and pleading for, to stay, and then there was, we made it work for a while, and then there was, I'm a no good SOB and worst person in the world. But I think that I hold a lot of culpability because I stayed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I stayed myself up for failure. Kept trying and trying and trying. I got placed second place in that race, and I put myself there, and I allowed myself to stay there because I thought it was what I wanted. But the funniest thing,
you got a little boy too, right? Or
yeah, she was there for more than half of his life, so that sucked.
That stepmother, kind of.
Yeah, ultimately.
Okay.
But that hurt. We had one day we were walking into Cracker Barrel after picking up school, and he just stopped and broke down and started crying, and that broke my heart because he said he missed her, and I was like, "Oh man,
that is tough."
And that was my fault. I didn't think about all the times we'd taken him to Cracker Barrel after we picked him up from school. So
yeah, it triggered you. So I'm gonna crack myself open a little here for you. I've got some cheating stories too, and so my cheating thing, I stayed afterwards too, after I found out, and it was due to the kids.
Yep.
Right. It was like the thing for me was like looking at my children's faces and taking their lives as they knew it at that time, taking their lives as they knew it and flipping it on its head felt like more trauma than just sucking it up and dealing with the betrayal.
Yeah.
And so I did, but the betrayal ate me from the inside out, man. Like, I think everybody that knows me will tell you I'm naturally a happy dude. Like, I'm a happy guy. I know you are too, right? If you would have spoke to me or seen me, I was unrecognizable. Like, I let my hair grow out. I let my face grow out. I gained like 20 pounds. I went into complete depression, all because I didn't want to take my boys away from their siblings. I didn't want and it's weird how these little things grab a hold of us, right? And the little thing that I remember that is so simple and silly, but it kept me there. My little boy had started preschool, okay, at this time. This is like, he's at preschool age, and he just adored getting on that school bus every day and getting on there. And they only took him like 2 blocks up the road, right? It was like the school was just like 2 blocks away. But he just woke up every day of his life just so excited to get on that yellow bus. And I knew if I left that I would be stealing that from him. And it kept me there in that depression and in that misery forever, man. Like, way longer than it should have.
You know, a big thing about, you know, the whole facilitating narcissism, you know, we all do it to some degree, whether it be upholding somebody's bad decisions because it's their decision to make, not calling people out on their BS, things of that nature. We enable people all the time. And again, I see it at work all the time, and I'm like dumbfounded, because how do you enable somebody to do this, to do all the things that they're doing, and you don't ever take personal accountability of it when it's your own life? And finally started doing that. And, you know, I look back at my history, and as a younger man, not going to lie, I was that guy. I was out partying, didn't matter who with.
I think I crossed paths with you a couple times in those days.
Come on leave, man. I tore up Cambridge when I was home from the army and things like that. But you know, I lived that life, and then I got my family with my son's mom, and I realized that's what I wanted. That's it. And it went sideways. It went really bad, but we eventually reconciled and decided to do what was best for our son. And it was probably one of the greatest achievements in my life, was hitting that point where I wasn't trying to prove a point to anybody, and I wasn't trying to prove that I was right or she was wrong. It was just that point where, you know, we were being adults because 2 adults made a child, and it was our responsibility to take care of that child and do what was right by that child. And we co-parent great now. I mean, it's, you know, he wanted to hang out with his brother this weekend because, you know, split up households. His one brother only got to come this weekend, and, you know, that's fine. It's supposed to be my weekend, no big deal. We'll make up the time later. Last weekend, I had some time off and decided I want to go up to Columbus and take him to Scene 75. Pretty cool place if you've never been. But she agreed to it. She's like, yeah, come pick him up. So I kept him.
That's so cool.
Kept him Saturday night and into Sunday. But, you know, the funniest thing happened when I stopped caring and stopped trying so hard to fight. And, you know, you'd think I would have learned a lesson last time. Don't fight fate. Don't fight what happened. Don't try to change how somebody showed you that they are, and just move on with your life. But as soon as that point happened, I'm meeting somebody great, fantastic. We clicked very well. And it's just probably one of the best things in the world, being able to have that person you could tell anything to. And, you know, I hate to use the term cautiously optimistic, but that's what we both do, because she's been through it too.
Yeah.
But, you know, once things like this happen to us, people are you're just so guarded, and you try to always try to be a person, but you always end up getting hurt in the end. But
we just had a really good conversation like this kind of last night, and IKEA has her own podcast that she does outside of this one, and we were talking about, you know, for me at least, knowing what I don't want out of a relationship is more important than knowing what I want. And the only way for you to really know what you don't want is to go through some crap.
Yeah.
Really
Absolutely.
go through some crap. And then you can identify sort of the red flags a lot better than what you did the first time around. And IKEA, did you have any questions lined up for Zane based on the video?
Yeah, I think it's the good thing that you, after a while, you were able to come to grips. Like it was on her versus the other person. Because I know sometimes now I don't know if did he know you guys were together? Like you were friends?
No, we weren't friends.
Okay. So
Dynamic I won't really describe because don't want to affect the workplace things or anything for them. But but no, I didn't know him. I knew of him, but it's one of those things where it happened. It's kind of funny. It happened. I found out. We went through it, trying to work on it, and then one night we were great. The next night she was gone, and 15 minutes later, that's where she was. But it is what it is. People were like, "Oh, I'm sure you hate her. I'm sure you're mad." No. Again, adult making adult decisions and adult mistakes. That's not something I can, complain about.
Well, I'll tell you that hate and resentment will eat you from the inside out. That's a selfish decision that you make. At least that's how I've approached it. Like my children's mother, we've had a lot of ups and downs. She struggles quite a bit, but I don't carry around resentment and hate towards her because that's not healthy for me. Right? It's just not. So
ultimately, what I kind of got out of this whole thing is happiness is a choice. I chose to sit around for the longest time and just be miserable and salty and angry about everything, and then all of a sudden everything started to come together, and I'm like, wait a minute, okay, life's for living, not for moping around and being sad. So then we all process things differently. Every person, we can experience the exact same thing at the exact same time, but we all process it differently. And people process trauma differently. I don't know what causes people to do what they do, and nobody does. It could be unresolved childhood issues. It could be an underlying medical condition. It could be something wrong with the brain. I don't know.
Like a void. I think a lot of times when people tend to do certain things is because they have these voids, and so they're looking for fillers. And you might find it, but the filler only lasts so long, like actual fillers, and they wear off. And then so now you got this hole again because it's internal, not so much a surface level, but I think we tend to describe it as such. So we think that you go, okay, let me go do this because this makes me feel good right now. It's just temporary fillers, and you set yourself up to get hurt in the long run because that's what it potentially does, because the real problem is with yourself. You have to figure out what's causing you to be unhappy, and sometimes it is the relationship. So basically the answer is you just got to leave. You got to move on. Like that's all you can do. Otherwise you just sit and drown in your own misery, and after a certain amount of time, like you said, it becomes on you. Like if you're going to sit around and be unhappy for it's going to be on you. It's not going to be nobody else's fault. So
right.
JC,
I can remember. Go ahead.
Hitting the gym, dude. Like it's probably one of the greatest things ever. Occupies your time, occupies your mind, gets all those bad feelings out. But I will tell you, my worst cheating story was not this one.
No? Man.
Oh, it was circa 2008. I was in Iraq, and talking to this girl, dating this girl, everything's going good, and then all of a sudden, emails stopped getting answered, phones stopped getting answered, and I realized
that's gonna be rough, man. You're all the way over on the other side of the world.
It was the anniversary of another one of my many near-death experiences. I was driving home from work, had that terrible ice storm last year, and a tree literally fell on me. Like I was driving about 45 miles an hour. Tree fell across the road, cracked the windshield cracked me in the head. Pretty awesome time. And that popped up on Facebook memories. I laughed about it a little bit, but the big takeaway from it is I have survived 100% of the things that have tried to kill me. And there's been plenty of things in my life that have tried, but I'm still here. I'm still kicking. I'm still moving forward.
I'll tell you a good one. I was in high school, man, and my high school sweetheart, I don't know, like the whole reason I was into this chick is because she was like a groupie. She used to come. You remember, my parents had a teen club, and she used to come to the club with like tie-dye t-shirts and stuff that had my name on it, man. Like she was.
I'm trying to place the name to it right now because I'm trying to reminisce a little bit.
I'm not gonna put her name out there, but she was a groupie, man. Like she was obsessed with me, right? And I was just beside myself that a girl liked me that much that she was like, you know, putting my name and stuff on shirts and whatever. And so this ends up becoming like my high school, like on and off all through high school. And then we start hitting like graduation. And she just starts being different. And I can't really pinpoint why, but she just starts being different. And at that time, my friend group had started to like expand. And it turned out that one of the guys that was in my friend group, they had like started talking like behind my back, right? Well, I was also very focused at the time. Like I made music like crazy and I was all into the DJ stuff. So in hindsight, I can kind of understand why she got bored because most of her time with me, she sat in my room and watched me play on the computer. That was pretty much it. That was her whole existence, right? And I think in hindsight, she just got really bored with that, wasn't feeling it. So she started talking to this other guy. But the funny thing is, like, the night that they decided to seal the deal, they were at a party full of people that were my friends. So they called me up on the phone while they're in the middle of it, man. And they're like, hey, JC, she's in the room with so-and-so and they're da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I got it.
The thing back then.
Oh, man. I was so heartbroken, though. Like, I was so angry. And I went into that thing that you went into. I went into, I'm going to kill him, right? And he was technically my friend, but not like we weren't like really good buddies. But I mean, he was hanging out in my circle a lot. So I felt like he owed me loyalty that he didn't probably really owe me. But there was a whole episode over that, man. I waited for him after school and got into a brawl over it, the whole nine, man. But just crazy, like that they called me in the middle of it.
You think about it and you're like, man, is it worth it? I mean, you think about everything you've established and
nowadays, heck no, man. Nowadays, I mean, if you're gonna do that to me, I'm just gonna ship you out and get rid of you. It's not worth losing I mean, I'm talking, I was still probably 16 years old, you know? So yeah, I mean, waiting for him after school, that whole thing. You just don't have any maturity at that age, you know?
No, and you know, the worst part about it is when people try to discredit you afterwards. Somebody could do completely wrong and then try to tarnish your name. That's the worst part about it. It's like, I'm moving on with my life. Just leave it be.
I see one of your videos was like, use every tool at your disposal. And you were bringing up, you talked about Facebook. You're like, if they're going to trash you on Facebook, don't listen to people that tell you to take the high road. Like, you have a right to use Facebook to trash them back.
Oh, yeah. Well, ultimately, anybody that asks anything about anything that they've heard about me from certain people, I'm just like, consider the source.
Right.
Look at the history of what has happened. Look at who you're talking to, and consider what you're hearing and from who you're hearing it. Because liars will lie, cheaters will cheat. Man, I'm writing a Taylor Swift song here. You want to collaborate on this?
Yep. All right. Well, all right, Zane. I appreciate you participating. Actually, just so the audience knows, it just occurred to me why we couldn't hear you, right? The way that my mixing board hooks up into the computer as a source has to be set to a certain setting for it to pick up the computer audio with it. And I just went into this episode thinking that everything needs to be like normal, but
you got to make it up. You want to see my face? All you got to do is ask.
Well, I tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to pull another one of your videos on another episode and we can try it again.
The Britney Spears one's classic.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yeah. We'll do that. All right. Well, I think we're out of topic. So we're pretty much just going to end the show here. You guys been watching the 6th episode of the X's podcast, and we'll see you next week, Sunday night, 8 o'clock, same time. Later.
Bye.